I'm gonna open a round of questions for every project to let them explain what they do and how they use blockchain. And then we can open the questions to all the public so we can make a discussion and we can ask more things. So let's start with Úrsula. Úrsula comes from Madrid, Chile. She's involved in this project, civil.co is the website, you can check it. And I pass you the microphone to explain what is civil.
Thank you, Veronica. And thank you, Lior, because you save us the time to explain what is blockchain. So we already know what is blockchain and how does it work. So that's a cute question that you always do ask. Well, first of all, what is civil? I'm a journalist myself. I've been a journalist for the last 20 years of my life. And the industry has been struggling hard. So 5 years ago, I started with the idea, oh, what about blockchain and journalism? Because blockchain is big for the banking industry, but it wouldn't make sense for the journalism as well. So that's why I started to attend different, I was living in the US at that time, and I was attending massive meetups in between Las Vegas and Phoenix. That question always came back to me. I came back to Spain and I went back to El País newspaper and I was talking with my editors and I was saying, but this should make sense for us. It was too early, still people don't understand. It's really hard to get what is blockchain and why blockchain is. There's many blockchains, not just one blockchain, first of all. So Civil started 2 years ago and is under the umbrella of Consensus. I don't know if you guys know what is Consensus. Consensus is one of the largest enterprise on blockchain. So we started this project in the very seed stage. It's been 2 years since we've been developing the product, and the project was launched last March. We had a token sale, which was like an ICO, but it was like an ICO last October. It was a big failure in New York last October, which was a learning experience because we did it through New York. We didn't do it through a lot of places. And it was such an experiment as well at the same time. So what is basically what we do, we work with newsrooms worldwide. We have 18 native newsrooms that they study on Civil. Then we have like 100 newsrooms right now from all over the world, from Asia, mostly the US. In the US, some from Spain, some other from Asia, and from Latin America. And these newsrooms, they joined Civil, first of all, because we work with a blockchain product for archiving or micropayments. And the other big part of Civil, what people really doesn't really know that much, is the governance part. Because Civil is divided by two, but Civil Media Company, they build the products on the blockchain, and Civil Foundation, which is the purely journalism side, which is led by Vivian Schindler. She was president of NPR, which is the national radio in the US, and she was a general manager of the New York Times. So what we do there, we lead the governance part, which is, for me, it's one of the coolest part of Civil as well. That's why we are in that stage right now, and the governance is great because it tackles fake news, and it's working. Since we launched last March, there have been like 6 newsrooms right now expanded out of the platform because the community doesn't allow newsrooms that they're not purely journalism, they don't allow fake news, and they don't allow plagiarism. So that's one of the key issues from Civil, besides the fact that we're working with different projects, like Lior said, that one of the cool parts of blockchain is that you can store data. And in Civil, you can store permanent archives, which is huge for journalism. As a journalist, I've been working in magazines like 20 years ago. Those magazines, they don't exist anymore. So all the articles that I wrote that time, nobody has it. I don't even know what I wrote. They're erased from this planet, and that won't happen on the blockchain. So that's one of the main things on the blockchain too, because you are archiving a piece of history, you know. So that's basically over to.
So Úrsula, what is exactly the newsroom doing? You can explain.
The newsroom, they don't have to do anything. I mean, newsrooms right now is a network of people. It's a network of newsrooms. Civil is a community of small and large and medium-sized newsrooms. Small because we have a small newsroom from Colorado. That right now, one of the newsrooms that was born in Civil is one of the largest newsrooms from Colorado. And then we have partners, two big ones with Forbes magazine in the US and AP, Associated Press. But basically we work with small, medium-sized newsrooms, and they don't have to do anything. They just plug in their CMS to the Civil technology, and they can be part of this community. And being part of this community, first of all, the first key is to be on the registry. The registry is where the community work. And the community are like the members. They are token holders, because I know that it's very complicated to understand the whole thing because it's too many in one piece. But it's basically, this is Civil Media Company and this is Civil Foundation, and in the middle is the community. So the community are the ones that buy tokens, members. It's like a membership program. We have like 3,000 members right now, mostly in the US, and they're the ones who challenge newsrooms or micropay those newsrooms for article, for video, for picture, for different parts. But the newsroom, they don't have to do anything. They just have to do journalism.
Okay, so what is the big function of blockchain? Why blockchain in the project?
One of the main things, what Civil was created for permanent archiving. It was a big issue during this crisis when a lot of newspapers or magazines started to shut down. They erased all of the content, so on the blockchain, as long as the blockchain will be live, it won't happen. So that was one of the big assets. And second, to license content. Inside the Civil ecosystem, the newsrooms, they exchange content one to each other. That is already happening. We have a podcast which is very popular in New York City. It's called Zigzag. And this podcast received the last interview of Anthony Bourdain, this celebrity chef that he killed himself last June. One of the Civil newsroom, Maria Bustillos, she did the last interview. She was the last journalist who interviewed him. So she published it on her magazine, which is based in LA, and she shared that interview with some of the Civil newsroom on licensing through a smart contract. So that's another, the second biggest asset. Why do we have blockchain? And the third is the micropayment and the token part.
Okay, so Roberto, you come from a project that is called Invit, yes? And Invit is a European project where several entities have been participating. So can you tell us more about it?
This project is basically, I don't know why it's not playing now. It's a very famous video that you can see the Pope is taking this piece of rope without moving anything, and this was a fake prepared for a television program in the US. And this project is just about that. It's about detecting fake videos. It's intended basically for the journalists, or Okay, so in this project participated Deutsche Welle, that is the public television in Germany, and also France Press, the agency, apart from other parts from the technological point of view. And the idea was to prepare a set of tools that help the journalists to verify if a video was fake or not. So this was the main part of the project. And then we were also partners in this project because it ended last December. We were responsible for the part regarding what you have detected that a piece of video is lawful and you can use it. The journalists can use it in their website or in the journal. It is how I get permission to reuse that piece of content. This is also a very critical thing, and here is just an example of what happened with some journals that take some photos from Twitter for a photographer, and they finally have to pay more than $1 million for that, and I think it was like 10 or 20 pictures, something like that. So it's critical also for the journalists to know about copyright. So the idea was build something that guides them and helps them negotiate the rights of these pieces of content, which was the idea.
Okay. And what is the main function of blockchain here? What are we doing?
Okay. The part we were responsible for, that is this content negotiation, in sense of copyright. The idea was that the journalists can put a piece of content, for instance, for YouTube, for Twitter, for Facebook. Then the journalist gets the default permissions that, depending on the social network, you will have. Basically, what you can do without permission is to embed. So you take the video from YouTube and you embed it into your website. This is allowed. But if you want to take it out of the platform, then you need the permission from the content owner, the person that uploaded the content to the social network, and you also have to verify that the person that uploaded was the person that shot the video. So you have to ask also for this. So we help the journalists through all this process, and then also if the conditions that the journalist wants, the kind of reuse that the journalist wants is not one that is by default allowed by the social network or under the copyright exceptions, there are some copyright exceptions, then the process is to negotiate with the content owner. We help in making contact between the parties and then stating the kind of reviews that we want to do. Then the journalist sends this to the content owner can check, respond back with modified conditions or accept these conditions. And here, something that was not critical for the journalists right now, but we thought that it was interesting to have is to store this agreement in a way that later if there was some issue because this is a very successful video and the person that shot the video now wants more money, or it was the reuse was granted for free but now he wants money. The journalists would need a way to prove that you agreed to share this video and grant me the right to reuse it under these conditions. So we have the blockchain as a way to have that proof that at a particular point in time you actually signed a transaction telling that you were okay with that kind of reuse. So it's like a way to secure this agreement.
Thanks, Roberto. And okay, Raquel is a Spanish entrepreneur as well, but she lives in San Francisco. She started with her brother about 2 years ago, and yeah. So, what is mobs?
Thank you, Veronica, for having me here. It's really great to be able to share our journey that has been quite a journey. I would say that mobs empower people to create or to produce video content together. The idea came up after realizing something that today seems pretty obvious, that these people enjoy moments together but memories from those moments are captured, stored, and most of the time forgotten in separated smartphones. Okay, so we thought that after behind all that moments, there are stories to tell, and we wanted to give people a way to be able to provide all this content to create, to properly create video memories. Okay, so I would define mobs as an application that helps people to create video stories together on the fly, because today there is no single application that allows that. Combining and trying to gather in all this content is expensive, is a tedious process, and editing video from a smartphone still painful for most of people today. How blockchain fits in all of this would be your next question, I guess. Okay, one of our stream revenues is basically allow people to monetize that content. The better technology that we put in end users' hands, the better content that they are gonna deliver, and if they deliver quality content, they deserve to get rewarded for them. So blockchain in this case was like a key part of our project, since allowing end users to monetize their content means that we need to be very careful when it comes to all the copyright process, and also we needed to build a system where they can be rewarded easily, that we can allow them to allow people interested on buying that content to make micropayments, and also to build an environment where there is trust between buyers and creators. So basically, this is what it does.
Okay, so, and now finally, we're gonna see what Lior does. Lior, can you explain?
I started working with blockchain around 2014 on a project called Next, which was the first proof of stake blockchain. Not sure how many of you are involved enough to understand the importance of it, but it's one of the iconic first blockchain project, which is still going on now. As a developer, so NXT was an open source project that anyone could join. I just hooked up and started working on it at night. At some point around the beginning of around 2016, it became obvious that blockchain is going to become big, and with the developers of the next blockchain decided to incorporate as a company, and also by developing Next, we also learned a lot about the existing limitations of blockchain technology, and we started working on the next generation blockchain that I would like to show you in a moment if everything will work fine. It is called Aldo. It is no longer a single blockchain with a single token. It's now an ecosystem of parent chain, which is responsible for the security of the network, and multiple child chains, which are related, which are responsible for the decentralized applications, the smart contracts, and so on. So, for example, I really hope that projects like mobs will be one of the applications deployed on our node as either as a smart contract or as a child chain, or using any one of the tools that we provide. So actually, I prepared for you a demo here that I also showed, demonstrated on the Java conference in Barcelona yesterday, that shows how we can incentivize people to follow us on Twitter by making sure that you can now create a Twitter account, follow certain accounts that we want you to follow. Then you can create an account on the blockchain, prove that the Twitter account and the blockchain account belong to the same entity, and then if you and then a contract actually checks all the restrictions and funds your account with some tokens if you indeed follow the Twitter handles that we ask you to follow. So I think I either sit here or get the.
We're not going to see an application.
All right. I'm telling you in advance, it's quite a sophisticated demo, and there are so many things that can go wrong. Starting from my laptop, with the internet connection, to any number of things that can go wrong with the blockchain itself. Am I connected? Wait. Let's start with closing those comments. This thing. Okay. So let's a little bit of orientation. You see, this is the outer wallet. You see, I'm logged in with this. This is my outer address. This is my my balance. This is the balance with Ignis. Ignis is the first child token. I told you it's a parent child chain. So it's outdoor, ARDR is the parent chain, Ignis is the first child chain, Lior is a token pegged to the euro, Bitwist is some decentralized application for marketplace, Max Property Group is a property registration application for properties. They are based in Netherlands. Okay, so let's see. Just a little bit about what you see here. Let's see transactions. Like you see here, there is a transaction of ordinary payment of 1.2.3 Ignis to this account sent me. We can focus onto it, and you see that's inside with all the cryptography and signatures and data and so on. That's basically what blockchain transaction is. Blocks are containers of transactions, and you can see we are right now working on testnet, so most blocks are empty, but the testnet generates a block pretty much every 10 seconds. And if there are transactions, they are included in the block. So let's try to see what we want to do. So I have by the way, let me show you this. If you whoever understands.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay. And when they touch my computer, I'm electrocuted. So it's what? Okay. Oh, this looks better now. Okay. I'm getting electrocuted when I touch my computer. It's because this. All right, let's see. I try. Okay. Anyway, Twitter. Okay. So I have here a Twitter. This is a Twitter account that want to get some tokens by following the Twitter handles that the Ardor community in Jelurida wants to use. You see, it's following Ignis, Jelurida, Ardor. That's the accounts we want to news, and also Sir Ibella, that is sitting over there. But this is not important at the moment. Okay. Now, okay. So he follows all the conditions that we want him to follow. Now we invite him to generate a new account on the blockchain. Okay. So let's generate a new account. So first of all, when we generate a new account, you always get this kind of, you see this 12 word, this is kind of seed. It's, we call it the passphrase. This is a very important piece of data, because if you lose it, you lose access to your account and you lose all your tokens. If Sergey reveals it, he can steal all the tokens. Right? So it's typically something you really want to keep secret but not forget. Right? And now this is the public address that I received. I will keep it here because I'll need it later. So at least let's copy this thing first. All right. And now I promise that I will never forget it. Retype it, and I created a new account. Okay. Now I want to associate this account with my Twitter account. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to generate a token. In this case, token is a very overloaded term. Okay. Nothing to do with crypto and tokens. It's just a piece of data that proves that I digitally signed with my password. So I'm gonna take my Twitter handle. By the way, this is a Twitter handle. This is just a friendly name. This is a Twitter handle. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to looking electric. Okay, so I'm going to sign my Twitter handle with my unique passphrase, okay? And I'm going to generate this thing, okay? That proves that I own this account and I just signed the Twitter handle, all right? Now I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm going to tweet this, okay? So clearly, by tweeting this, I prove that I both own the Twitter account and that I own the passphrase for this blockchain account, because that's how I generated this digitally signed token. All right? So I created two-way binding between the Twitter account and the blockchain account. Now let's see how the magic works. So now there is a contract running on the blockchain, and I will show it in a moment. And I'm going to trigger it, and I'm going to tell it that I want, let it load, okay, just a second. Let me try something else. Trying to get something to happen. Okay, let's try to use this. Okay, so finally I get this one because I don't know why I didn't get it before, but I'm going to invoke the Twitter follower reward and send it as parameters the Twitter handles that it needs to fund. Okay. And let's send. I'm sending this message to trigger the contract. Right? So, okay. So let's see what happened now. So I sent a message to the contract telling it to reward this Ignis tokens to this Twitter handle. The contract checked all the conditions that we talked about, so that indeed the Twitter account follows these Twitter handles that they wanted it to follow. It then did two things. One, it sent a transaction to the new account, and to convince you that it did, you see, it sent these 10 tokens to this account address. You can see that it's the same address that I copied here, but let's actually see how it looks now. So I'm going to log into this account now. Okay, you see that my tweet, the account that they use to generate the token and create the tweet is now funded with 10 Ignis. Alright, that's a reward for following us on Twitter. You can also see another transaction that we call a set account property, because when you work in blockchain environment with tokens that has value, guess what? Everybody will try to cheat you. I can see the brain, the wheels spinning in the brain. Okay, maybe I will now create many Twitter accounts and use the same blockchain account, and you will just fund it again and again. No, I'm not going to do it, because before the contract funds the account, it checks that there are no other transactions that already fund this account. Okay, so let's think more. So maybe I will use the same Twitter account, but create many accounts on the blockchain, and these suckers will fund them one by one. So this is also not going to happen, because we are setting, when we fund an account, we set an account property, okay, that registered the Twitter handles that we funded. So the contract, before funding a new account, will check if this Twitter handle was already funded. If it was already funded, it will not fund it. So when you develop contracts for blockchain, you always need to think about all the worst case scenario, because people will always try to exploit these kind of free tokens and so on. So contract development for blockchain is an art by itself. We provide a very flexible framework. For example, in most blockchain smart contracts, it's completely impossible to integrate with Twitter, because you can only use information that is inside the blockchain. We provide a smart mechanism that actually lets you interface with it. And you can learn more about the Auto platform if you like.
Thanks. Okay, so do you have any questions about this? How to verify Twitter account? Okay, so now there is the screen. So now we can start questions, everyone. I have my first question for all of them, for all the panel, and it's about it's about what are the challenges did you have found? Úrsula, where do you want to start? So, what are the challenges of the blockchain, in the adoption of the blockchain technology?
That's a good question, because the challenges are everything. Everything. This is so new, beside the fact that the technology has 11 years now, since the white paper was published in 2008. Still, it's quite new, and it was expensive, and it was low. But it's great, that's why we're still here. But challenges, I mean, first of all, personally, I do create smart contract every day almost for the different newsrooms. And it's hard, by the way, I'm working on Ethereum. Because I saw the sign. So I got your message. So I understand you're building your own blockchain as well, which is great. So the main challenge for us is to have the token on mainstream, because the token is one of the key parts to enter inside the ecosystem. And to get tokens is hard. First of all, because of the legislation. Secondly, because it's not easy. It's much easier to get a credit card. To get our tokens, you have to open up an account on MetaMask, and then MetaMask. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is still complicated. And the gas prices, you all know what is the gas price, right? Is up and down, and sometimes quite expensive to upload content on the platform. So those are the main challenges right now, but the technology is getting better, faster, and cheaper. So that is not going to happen overnight. It's the same thing with the internet. When we discovered internet in the 90s, to send an email was very slow. We have to be very patient that time. Same thing with blockchain. But we're working on that right now.
So, well, I don't know if I have a lot to add now, but I think from my experience, I would focus a little bit in the legal, probably, aspect. I belong with Úrsula to that amount of companies that we tried to launch an ICO, and it was a complete disaster. Actually, I think that probably ours was the shortest ever. It was 1 week open, and we had to close. I really feel that the legal issues is playing like it's a big part of this game, and I mean we all need to try to push in the direction of our governments, trying to help them understand the technology, because I feel that the main point is that most of the people regulating don't even know actually what blockchain is and what it can bring to the table. The other part of people that really knows are afraid of what will come and what will happen. But I think it's a matter of time and a matter of a lot of companies trying to push and fight in the right direction.
Okay, I also agree that the legal part is a big issue. And in our case, for instance, it was an issue for the journalists to think about paying crypto to the content owners. It was nonsense. And the other part, I think it's the user experience, is how you make the application easy for the users to get into crypto. And in that sense, our experience was curious in the sense that we used an application, a mobile application that is called Newport, that allows anyone to have an account in Ethereum, in our case, because we also use the Ethereum. And the idea is that you can sign transactions just by scanning a QR code that appears in your screen. So it's as simple as that. In any case, you have the problem that that account has some Ethereum in order to pay the gas of the transactions and so on. And this is still an issue, but it's been solved quite a lot in this case, because you can have some Ether in order to fill the transactions and so on. But in any case, this is for me, one of the main barriers to the user experience, make it easy for everyone.
It's always fun to me how I'm always amused by how the Ethereum users are obsessed with the gas prices and all these things, because we have a very elegant solution actually for this. With the outdoor, the end user does not have to pay any transaction. Because when you develop an application for the blockchain, you don't want your users to worry about cryptocurrency and exchanges and MetaMask and all this stuff. You want them to register their identity and vote and certify the journal, the newspaper article, and the video and so on. So you don't want them to deal with taxes on cryptocurrency and things like that. So what we do in Outdoor, we let the end user transact completely for free, as long as there is someone, some business, that is willing to bundle their transactions and include it in the blockchain. Okay? And businesses can deal with cryptocurrency, taxes, accountants, lawyers, and so on, so that you don't have to. Okay? So I think this is a very key element for a mainstream adoption, is to make it transparent for the end user that they are actually using the blockchain. So this is one step in this direction.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your presentations. I am out of this business, but I have one question and one comment. Okay? First is, Raquel, which is your platform of blockchain that you are using? Ethereum as well?
I mean, our idea is to
to-
build our platform
So the question was, what, Raquel, what platform are you using?
Thank you for the question, because actually I think it's a good question to answer. Okay. In our case, think that our main business, our bread and butter, is not blockchain itself, it's all the collaborative video creation, the algorithm that allows people to create on the fly content together. This is our main business. And when we start evaluating, okay, we want to use blockchain because it solves our problem from the licensing content perspective. But we don't want to invest a lot of time, money, and effort on developing our own decentralized ecosystem. It doesn't make sense. And I think that, like mobs, there are a lot of companies that are in the need of using blockchain as a backend solution, but we don't want to focus our energy there. So after researching around, we find out that Arlo is actually for companies with our needs the best solution from the perspective that they offer a real end-to-end blockchain as a service, which is what we need. I mean, we just need like a few months of hard work in order to integrate the platform with us. And we have also a set of APIs that we can use. Inside of those APIs, there is a complete marketplace already built, and the whole ecosystem already working, running, testing. And these guys take care of the important things, so we can focus on what is really important for us, that is actually pulling out our business.
Sorry, thank you. The comment was probably on me. The comment is connected to this legal framework. The question is, are you in connection in cooperation with Garcia? Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Yes?
I think Roberto is, so I passed.
Yeah, I come from University of Lleida, and there are many universities now in Alaska. And in fact, it's the way with Diego that is also there. I contacted, we get in contact here today. We started to Alaska. And yes, it's also an opportunity for us because in this case it's also based on Ethereum, this blockchain, but because, without gas cost. So this is an opportunity for us, and we are building now an application that we want to deliver in this context, just because that, because it doesn't matter if the problem with gas is an issue in this case.
So, yeah, I think.
Well, I've got quite a loud voice. Maybe you can hear me anyway, or?
You can use it. Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. A question for Úrsula, which is basically, so the objective you have is quite hard to achieve, I believe. How do you make sure that your sources of news are true and uncorrupt? And for Lior, so what's the business model behind your application? You get a percentage on every transaction that you validate through this application of Twitter. And this was a very precise application. Maybe you could give an overview of Ardor's advantages, or is it just, excuse me, another smart contract blockchain copying what Ethereum is doing, for example? Right? Thank you.
Thank you, very good questions. Let's start with Ursula. I agree, very good questions. Because we know that the goal is not easy, but we are already working on this. This is not a project. It's something that is working. It's been almost 3 months that the platform is live. How do we achieve this? Because we are not just relying purely in the technology. We rely on humans and technology. Because just the technology, as we were saying, people can trick purely the technology as well. So the human part is the community. But people that are inside the platform, that they get inside the platform, they have to abide a constitution. We have a constitution, which is the base to be inside the civil platform. The constitution is a live document that started last year with journalists, more than 100 journalists worldwide that were created and writing this constitution. Started from Sasha Cohen from the New York Times, that by the way, she's leading the New York Times blockchain project right now with IBM. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but they're going to launch pretty soon that project. So anyway, she was one of the leaders of this live doc. So we have that as a base. And then there are the newsroom. And then on top of that, the community, and on top of this, we have a civil council. Civil councils like the Supreme Court, that if anything arises inside of this ecosystem, the civil council will have a voice. It's a decentralized because it's up to the community to change, to do amendments to the constitution, but we have like a Supreme Court system because it's hard to judge what is true and what is not. And these are journalists, very well-known journalists, started from Vivian Schiller, started from Emily Bell from Columbia University, Javier Moreno, used to be the chief and the editor at large of the director of the El País newspaper. Sue Gardner, she comes from the Wiki Foundation. We have several, like 10 different very prestigious journalists that will take care that this thing is running. Although they don't touch this whole project, they just make sure that everything is on order. So that's the way that we create this check and balance, which is it's not easy, but we're working on that.
So you asked two very good questions. How do we differentiate ourselves from Ethereum, for example, and what is our revenue? So in this form, it will be very difficult to convince you, but I can tell you that we were before Ethereum, okay? NXT was launched at the end of 2013, before Ethereum was even announced. I mean, we are now solving with Aldo, which is the next generation, we are solving with our parent-child chain architecture, we are solving a problem that essentially Ethereum is trying to solve with plasma plus sharding plus custom. Okay, we are already proof of stake. We already have separation between applicative chains and chains that manages the network, and we already have sharding in the form of each child chain that it's actually running on its own shard. Okay, so in a sense we are much more advanced than Ethereum. However, you see these guys, they hear about Ethereum and that kind of became the default of the industry. We start with Ethereum until we get stuck with this problem that we need to pay this gas and the price of the gas. So it's the way we are developing the platform is like, instead of each one developing its own smart contract, repeating the mistakes of everybody else, we develop the basic building blocks into the platform ourselves. So, for example, you saw that we have account programs. You saw that we can send messages. You didn't see our voting system, centralized exchange, and marketplace, which are all operating now in production on the platform. So these are built into the core by the core developers. So the risk of being hacked or losing your token is much smaller with this approach. However, to give you more flexibility, we let you build on top call it a smart contract layer, which is basically a layer of automation on top of the building blocks that we have inside the blockchain. So from revenue model, one revenue model is the child chains. We do not allow anyone to create a child chain. Child chain is created by agreement with the company called Jelurida, the company that owns the intellectual property of Ardor and NXT blockchain platforms. So one revenue stream is to create more child chains. Another revenue stream is to create this whole platform ecosystem, Ardor ecosystem, and clone into permissions, all kind of permission or semi-permission blockchain installation, like the New York Times, or what the last three are trying to do with clone of Ethereum. So this is and then we have the usual revenue stream of all the public blockchains, the token itself. Okay, the value goes up, we hold some of this token, we make
Úrsula, I would like to know if Cyril are doing something related to fact-checking, that this is a question for the journalists that this is related.
Thanks. Yes, definitely. And actually, the community is the fact-checker of the newsroom's content, because a civil is very wide to understand at once. The part of the governance, when the token holders, which is the civil community, this is like a game theory. So they actively participate in this system. But first of all, because they like to read good news, and secondly, not just for that, because of the game theory, they can get rewarded with tokens. Let me tell you why. Because we have 5 newsrooms expelled out of the system. One, because it wasn't like there's a lot of small newsrooms that they write like branded content, and they don't really do purely journalism content. So they have press releases, and they're not newsrooms itself, as the Constitution says. So people in the community say, hey, wait a minute, red flag. We have this newsroom that it doesn't abide the Constitution. It doesn't say what the Constitution is supposed to be saying to be inside civil. So what they do, they challenge that newsroom with 5,000 civil tokens. And the rest of the community, they vote against that newsroom, and we wait for 2 weeks, 14 days in order to expel that. If they win that challenge, they take all of those tokens that they were saving during the 2 weeks period. That's one of the incentive for them to participate. And secondly, if that newsroom is expelled out of the system, then they can apply and they can ask to the civil council to be inside. And if the civil council say no, the community was right, there's no way they can be back. But yes, that's a part of the fact-checking organization inside the platform.
I can understand how you are working on this project for 2 years. It's complex.
It's very wide.
Okay, more questions. It's time to have a beer, or maybe? Do you want to add anything related to what you have heard from your panelists, companies, or colleagues? Conclusion. Okay.
For me, I appreciate your invitation, Veronica, because for me it's really, really rewarding to hear different projects besides the Ethereum world. Because as part of consensus, of course, I'm very much into Ethereum. But to discover like new platform like you, it's really rewarding because I know that this is not an easy path. It's very, we have to go a lot of bumps along the way, but I think that when you started on the blockchain space, you're too passionate. This is like a family at the end of the day, and we know, we believe in this, and we know that it's going to get something, and it's getting there. It's getting much better than last year, and next year it's going to be even better. And who knows? But just for the record, Facebook is building their own cryptocurrency. So who knows if Facebook's going to take this on mainstream? It could.
You can be sure.
So maybe in Telegram also.
Yes.
Look,
About Facebook.
so first, I'm not sure if there is not like it's not like sometimes a blockchain where it looks like tribes, Ethereum tribes, our tribes. We learn from each other a lot, and we respect each other a lot. So I just want to say, my prediction is that there will be some great companies that will grow out of the blockchain world. It's not going to be the existing internet giants. They don't understand the essence of blockchain. I mean, they will create something quasi-permission, hybrid, that will be another version of PayPal eventually. It will not really give you freedom and what we call decentralized application. It will have censorship all over the place and a lot of privacy issues. So I'm not that worried about these guys entering the blockchain world. I'm more worried about the existing players that are there is a fierce competition in this world, and many very interesting solutions that are coming up almost every day.
Well, I'm not a technical person, so like from the technical perspective, it's very little that I can add. But I have to say that since I get into the blockchain world, from the business perspective, and when you get deep and you can see like all the actual problems that can be solved in a very elegant and easy way, how many new business models are arising in the space. It's impossible not to fall in love with the technology and with the capabilities that we really see on it. I think it's a matter of time. Under my perspective, I think that only good things are going to come from the big players inside the blockchain world. I'm sure that Facebook coming in at the end is going to make more good than bad, even if there are a lot of reasons why we don't like Facebook and their last movements around the fake news and how they are dealing with that.
For the media industry, just for the record, digital ads, do you know, is a huge, huge industry. And this money is distributed between Facebook, Google, and now Amazon. And do you know how much money? It's a lot. It's billions, with B. 650 billion is the amount of money that they raise on digital ads. That's why the media industry is in such a crisis right now, besides the trust crisis. So yes, it'll be interesting to see that.
Maybe just adding to that, I think maybe it's one of the biggest issues that we are not realizing, that they are earning a lot of money out of our data. And I think that this technology, blockchain, might be something that might help us in the future take back control of our data and make them pay a fair price for what it is worth. Yes, that. I'm confident, at least in that sense, it might help.
Okay, so thank you very much. Roberto came today from Lleida. Raquel comes from San Francisco. She was in Barcelona, so we took the opportunity to invite her. And Lior as well was in Barcelona from Israel in the Java conference that has been these days. And Úrsula comes from Madrid. We could invite her just for this event. So thank you very much all of you for your time. I know you make an effort to come here, and thanks for sharing your process with us. Thank you for coming.